It was a month before Halloween when the invitations started arriving. They were small, ornate cards sealed with red wax, bearing an insignia no one recognized, a twisted, smiling face framed by intricate designs. The letters simply read, "You are cordially invited to the Carnival of Shadows, one night only on All Hallows Eve. Come if you dare." At first, no one in the town of Ashbrook took it seriously. The town had never hosted a carnival before, let alone one with such a sinister name. The children laughed, thinking it was some elaborate Halloween prank, while the adults dismissed it as an attempt by some eccentric to stir up excitement. But as the days crept towards Halloween, the strange invitations kept appearing, slipped under doors, tucked into mailboxes, even tied to the branches of trees in the town square. They seemed to multiply, as if the carnival was calling everyone, whether they wished to attend or not. By the time Halloween night arrived, curiosity had overtaken fear. Whispers spread through the streets. Who's going? What if it's dangerous? What if it's a trick? But the more adventurous souls among them, particularly the teenagers of Ashbrook, were determined to see the spectacle for themselves. Mia, Ethan, and Jake were three such teens, inseparable since childhood. Mia was the boldest, always chasing thrills, while Ethan followed with a mix of skepticism and excitement. Jake, though cautious, was never one to let his friends go on an adventure without him. So when Mia found an invitation tied to her bedroom window, it was only natural that the three of them would plan to attend the mysterious event. As dusk settled over the town, Mia, Ethan, and Jake made their way to the outskirts of Ashbrook, where the invitation had directed them. The location was peculiar, a large field that had always been abandoned, with nothing but an old rusted gate that led to nowhere. Except tonight, beyond the gate, was something new, a carnival. It looked like it had sprung up overnight, impossibly large, with towering tents, swirling lights, and the distant sound of calliope music winding through the air. But there was something unsettling about the sight. The lights were too dim, the colors too faded, as if the entire place had been plucked from another time, another world. At the entrance stood a tall figure dressed in a black and white harlequin costume, his face obscured by a smiling mask. In one hand he held a lantern, and with the other he gestured for them to enter. "Welcome to the Carnival of Shadows," the figure intoned, his voice a chilling rasp. "Step right up and face your deepest fears." The three exchanged glances, but their excitement won over the unease creeping into their hearts. Together, they stepped through the gate. Inside, the carnival was a maze of winding paths, twisted booths, and strange shadowy figures that manned the games. There were no other visitors, no crowds, no other teens from the town, just the three of them, alone in the eerily quiet fairground. As they walked, they noticed the games were not typical carnival fare. One booth offered a game called, where participants had to reach into a box filled with dark, swirling mist and retrieve an object. Another had a sign reading, but instead of the usual cards or crystal balls, there was only an old, tattered book with pages that seemed to turn on their own. Mia, undeterred, pulled them toward the nearest game, a ring toss. But instead of rings, they were bones. And instead of poles, they were skeletal hands reaching up from the ground. "This is so creepy, but kind of awesome," Mia laughed, tossing one of the bone rings. It missed. The game attendant, a thin man with hollow eyes and a painted smile, didn't speak. He simply held out his hand for the next bone. Mia tried again, missing once more. Jake glanced around nervously. "Where is everyone? Shouldn't there be more people here by now?" Ethan shrugged. Maybe they just haven't shown up yet. I mean, this place is huge. But Mia was determined. She grabbed another bone, but as she threw it, something strange happened. The lights around the booth flickered, and for a split second, the entire carnival seemed to shift, the tents warping and the ground twisting beneath their feet. Mia gasped, "Did you guys see that?" Before either of them could answer, the masked harlequin appeared beside them once more. "Care to try your luck at another game?" he asked, his voice dripping with menace. The three friends, now on edge, nodded hesitantly. He led them deeper into the carnival, past more strange booths and attractions, each one more bizarre and sinister than the last. There was a house of mirrors, but the reflections inside showed them as much older, with haunted expressions. A carousel spun without music, its horses skeletal and their eyes glowing faintly in the dark. And all the while, there were no other people, just the distant sound of laughter and the occasional rustling of unseen figures in the shadows. Finally, the harlequin stopped in front of a massive tent. "For our bravest guests, the final attraction, the House of Horrors. Step inside and face your fate." Mia, never one to back down, stepped forward. "I'm game." "You guys coming?" Jake hesitated. "I don't know, Mia. This place is starting to freak me out." Ethan, though unnerved, nodded. "Let's just see what's inside. We'll stick together." The three entered the tent, which was lit only by flickering candles. The air inside was cold, and the walls seemed to pulse with an unnatural energy. As they moved through the narrow corridors, grotesque images began to appear. Distorted faces pressed against the fabric walls, hands reaching out from the shadows, and whispers that echoed in their ears. Each room they entered was more terrifying than the last. In one, they saw their worst memories replayed in front of them, as if they were happening again. In another, their greatest fears came to life. Maya, who was afraid of drowning, found herself in a room filling with water, while Ethan, who feared heights, saw the floor disappear beneath him, revealing a pit that seemed to have no bottom. But it was Jake who faced the worst of all. In the final room, a figure stood waiting for him, a twisted version of himself, eyes hollow, face gaunt, and a cruel smile stretching across his lips. "Welcome, Jake," the doppelganger whispered. "You'll never leave this place." Panicked, Jake turned to run, but the door had vanished. The walls closed in around him, and the air grew thick and suffocating. "Mia! Ethan!" he screamed, but his voice was swallowed by the darkness. Outside the tent, Mia and Ethan stumbled out, gasping for breath. They looked around, but Jake was nowhere to be found. "Where is he?" Mia cried, panic rising in her chest. Before Ethan could answer, the harlequin appeared again, his mask glinting in the dim light. "He has found his place," the harlequin said softly. "As will you." "What do you mean?" Ethan demanded, grabbing the harlequin by the arm. "Where's Jake?" The harlequin's mask tilted slightly, as if amused. "The Carnival of Shadows is no ordinary carnival. It exists between worlds, feeding on the fears of those who enter. Your friend's fear consumed him, and now he belongs to us." Mia's blood ran cold. "You're lying, am I?" the harlequin replied, stepping closer. "Soon you will see for yourselves." Without warning, the carnival around them began to change. The vibrant lights dimmed to a sickly glow. The laughter became distorted, and the once fun-house atmosphere turned into a nightmare. The tents rotted away, revealing barren land, and shadowy figures emerged from the darkness. Former guests of the carnival, their faces twisted in eternal terror. Mia and Ethan realized too late that the carnival had been a trap all along, a realm of shadows that fed on the souls of those who dared to enter. They ran, desperate to escape, but the gate was gone, and the carnival stretched endlessly before them. The next morning, the town of Ashbrook awoke to find that the field on the outskirts was once again empty. The carnival had vanished without a trace. and with it, Mia, Ethan, and Jake. Days turned into weeks, and as the town mourned the loss of the three teens, whispers of the Carnival of Shadows began to fade into rumor and legend. But every year on Halloween night, invitations would still appear in Ashbrook, sealed with red wax and bearing the twisted, smiling face. Those who received them knew the truth. Somewhere out there, the Carnival of Shadows waited, ready to claim new victims. And the Harlequin? He would always be there, lantern in hand, smiling behind his mask, watching as the next unwitting soul stepped into the darkness.